Monday morning, minding my own business. So much of what I do, like there's so much work to be done during the season. There's so many stories. I have a running list at any given time of like 10 stories I want to write. I'm not actively shaking the trees all the time for information. Sometimes I am. Sometimes stuff just comes to me. When I get a text from a current head coach saying on Monday morning, something needs to be done about officiating by ownership. They need to take charge. They need to push Roger out. They need to push Rich McKay out. They need to push Troy Vincent out. And they need to take charge and ultimately bring back Dean Blandino and write him a big-ass check to fix everything. And I've been saying for years, you got to tear it down and you got to build it up again. You can't keep making tweaks and modifications to the way things have always been. You've got to reimagine officiating. And the owners are the ones who are in position to take control of it. Against that backdrop, Jerry Jones was on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas yesterday, and they asked him about our take, our reporting, that there is a belief that it's time for the owners to take charge of officiating and fix officiating. Here's what Jerry Jones had to say.
I must have been in fog for the last 30 years. But any meaningful rule change that I've ever seen in any major issue, no matter defensively, offensive, passing game, running game, the owners approved it. So I didn't realize that we weren't approving officiating. We know there's judgment, and we know it can be wrong, and really is wrong a lot. The idea of getting it right, quote, with all that's at stake, but it can be right if you all agree that we're going to go on that guy's judgment. Now, he may be half blind, but we've decided that we're going to go on his judgment. We both agreed to it coming in, and we assume that his integrity is okay and good. So it's just a question of did he miss it or not.
It's a hell of an assumption to make in this day and age. And my big problem with this, he completely misses the point.
Yes.
His attitude is, if you're okay with it and I'm okay with it, we're the teams playing in the game, and we accept the fact that the guy may be half blind. We accept the fact that the guy may have his head up his ass. We accept the fact that the guy may not know the rule book. We accept even the possibility he has bad integrity. We're accepting all that as the two teams involved. That's no longer good enough when they are stuffing their pockets with money from sports books as a result of legalized gambling, because the rest of us have a vote now. It's no longer good enough to say, hey, if the two teams involved are fine with it, that's all that matters. That isn't the issue anymore. And on the same day, Chris, that I wrote something about how Roger Goodell's done a 180 on gambling, a 180 on Las Vegas, and it's all Viva Las Vegas now. When they used to say the reason we don't want legalized gambling is when there are normal incidents like bad calls, what's going to happen? People are going to think the fix is in, and it's going to undermine the integrity of the game. That's why people want this now. The people who aren't directly involved in the game are fed up with all the bad calls, and it's going to impair the integrity of the game. It's going to have Congress up their butts. That's coming. I guarantee you that's coming. It's just a matter of lining things up the right way and the right opportunity for a controversy to emerge. Jerry's missing the point. He thinks it's only about him and the Eagles or him and the Dolphins. Hey, we understand this is how it goes. We're fine with it. We accept the risk. One of us may get screwed by a bad call. It's no longer about those two teams. It's about the people out there, specifically the people wagering their hard-earned dollars on this thing having integrity that reaches beyond the two teams.
There's so much there, and I think the first thing is the fans, like you said, they're not okay with it. And challenge flag, okay, in spirit of the officiating conversation here, the two teams that are playing are not okay with it. You mean the two owners up in the box that got nothing to do and are cheering and clapping and, eating food and telling their, chauffeur to get the car ready and give me another snack or a drink. Yeah, a big deal to you. So
Clean
what?
my glasses.
Right. Again, the problem is you can't talk to a coach who doesn't bring up and go, isn't the officiating horrible? Like, have you ever seen a year like this? Is it just me or is it you? It's all over the place. It's inconsistent as hell. That's the problem. That's the problem everywhere. And there's blown calls and things that are going on right now that are so egregious and so I think that guy is blind who's the referee here today. I think we hired a blind ref because there's calls right now that are being missed all the time that are just that's inexcusable. And we talk about a few of them every week, let alone the inconsistencies of call. We see a quarterback get hit like this and they go roughing the passer. The next quarter, the guy's head gets ripped off and there's no roughing the passer. We see this touch that gets called pass interference. 5 plays later, a guy's head gets ripped off, no pass interference. It's all over the place. And there needs to be full-time referees, as we've talked about, Dean Blandino, all the things you talked about, the update in technology, and I've brought this up a bunch lately, and this is no disrespect to a lot of great people in 345 Park Ave. We have way too many people, commissioner included, who have no business being included in football discussions. We have people who are expertise in business and law telling football players how to play football. When we have our meetings with the people in the league, I never find Troy Vincent, I never have a problem with what he's saying. I don't think he's the problem. I think it's a bunch of other people who have no idea, no background in football, never learned anything in football, never played football, and they're telling people how the rules of the game should go and how it should be played. And that has been something that I know has always scared coaches from when I was a little kid. Owners, even go back to Al Davis. He used to say this, and it's a big issue right now. And I know that people like that who have no football background are sticking their nose and framing this whole officiating thing way more than they should be right now. And that is the biggest problem in the NFL as far as this is concerned.
What you said early on, I think, is the core of this issue. The owners are fine with it because they ain't getting fired if enough bad calls go against their team. They're not getting fired. They just assume it's all going to even out. You know, when someone gets screwed by some weird rule, that team is usually the last one to say we should change it because they think next time around it's going to help me. See, for every bad call, there's a good call. For everybody that gets screwed by a blind or half-blind official, there's somebody who benefits from the blind or half-blind official. You think the Packers were upset about the horrible non-call of pass interference on Marquez Valdez-Scantling the other night? Hell no. Helped them win the game. You think the Bengals were upset that the holding penalty that wiped out the 43-yard pass play from C.J. Beathard to Calvin Ridley on Monday night was a holding call that we see all the time not called?
Right.
Like, what possessed the official in that moment to throw the flag when they looked the other way all the time?
The whole day.
Hey, Bengals are fine with it. So for every owner it helps, there's an owner it hurts. For every owner it hurts, there's an owner it helps, and nobody's getting fired. The coaches are up in arms because their careers are hinging on avoiding what is quite possibly a run of a bunch of bad calls.
Exactly right.
Because of an incompetent system. See, and this is the problem, too. We're not picking on the officials. They're doing the best they can in a system that desperately needs to be overhauled.
Yeah.
And Jerry Jones doesn't want to overhaul it. Something he said, and I don't know if we included it in the clip, but they're the ones who have to pay for it. See, it's like any other thing in business. When you come to me as the person who is going to pay for it, and you make the proposal for something that you want to do, and I inevitably ask, how much is this going to cost? The next question is it worth it? Is it justifiable as a business consideration to spend this money for this thing you want to do? How much more money is it going to make me if I do it? And what's my downside if I don't do it?
It can't be any more money than the bottom line balance of what Josh McDaniels is still going to get paid from the Raiders the next few years, or Frank Reich and what he's going to be paid, right? So that to me, I want to go, there's no problem. It's $50 million. I made a bad hire. Boom, throw it out. But we can't fix the game. That's too expensive.
Right. But I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah. My point is, when a Mark Davis fires a Josh McDaniels because his fan base is about ready to revolt, or when David Tepper fires Frank Reich because David Tepper wants it now and he's not getting it now, that's his prerogative. But when you're talking about I'm trying to think of this like the owners would. What are we really getting out of paying Dean Blandino $10 million a year to rebuild officiating and all the other stuff we'd have to do with it? What does it really add to our bottom line? And what does it harm us if we don't do it? See, they think it's not going to hurt them if they don't change. And that's why I keep going back to the things the NFL used to say about gambling before it became legalized. Why they didn't want it legalized? Because you legalize it, and all these mistakes are going to cause people to say the fix is in, the fix is in, the fix is in. And Chris, more than ever, I've got people that interact with me on, I make my email address available. I see things on Twitter. My son is a firm believer the fix is in, the fix is in, the fix is in. You legalize gambling, and you invite that into your house. The fix is in. And they better understand that and fix it before the shit hits the fan. That's the problem.
Yep.
So it's not enough for the owners to just say among themselves, this gentleman's agreement here, we'll understand that you may have a bad call, I may have a bad call. We'll just live with that, right? We're fine with that, right? We're not going to make a big deal about it. We get that. These are the rules of engagement. That agreement isn't binding on everyone else. That's where Jerry Jones is missing the point. The agreement that he makes with Jeffrey Lurie doesn't affect everyone else, and everyone else is affected by the bad calls. That's where they need to wake up. Jerry Jones doesn't see it because he doesn't want to see it, because seeing it is going to take some of the money out of the fund that he uses to pay for the maintenance and the crew on his yacht.
Yeah, well, listen, I agree to everything you said there. And the bottom line, it's inconsistencies and plays right now that we watch every week, and we brought it up where you go, how does that get missed? I don't even understand that. Whether it's like, wait, the guy's foot was a yard out of bounds and they called it a catch, or the guy's a yard inbounds and he gets hit and they call it a late hit. There's things that are inexcusable. I think we have a play from the Browns-Rams game last week. I was watching this on film yesterday, Mike. It's a crucial part of the football game. The Browns are down by a point. We got this, right, Courtney, Kristen? Okay, and this is a play where, I'm watching on film, and I'm going, wait, what's the call here? What happened? What was there a delay of game? Blah, blah, blah. So I pull up the playlist, right, and they say, false start on the center. Mike, I watched this play back 74 freaking times, right? I mean, you tell me. This is a huge moment in the game. I want to say it's 3rd and 1 here? Can you guys help me? Do you remember exactly? 2nd and 1, something like that, right? They called a false start on the center. Like, what? The guy from 40 yards away called it on the center on the sideline, and he couldn't have been more wrong. And that was a huge part of the football game, right? So there's things like this every week, every film I turn on where I want to go, wait, hold on, let me watch this again. Am I reading this right? They called a penalty on this guy or this person? And it's like, it's egregiously wrong. Egregiously. And again, that's where I was thinking of you yesterday, again, where I went back to Sky Judge, and I want to go, this is where Sky Judge has to come in and go, nope, referee, you couldn't be more wrong. You're an idiot. Go back. Keep the play. Hey, referee, come in and go, hey, excuse me, inadvertent whistle, 2nd and 1, still Browns. That's where they got to change it, because that looks like the fix is in when you do stupid crap like that.
We need to take a break, but I think this is the last point to make. The NFL desperately needs to create the impression that they're doing everything they can to get all calls right. It's not a guarantee there won't be mistakes, but at least if you're creating the impression you're trying,
right,
you don't get people saying the fix is in. When one of your most prominent owners says, well, we just kind of understand that some of these officials are going to be half blind, and we hope none of them are corrupt, but what the hell do we know? That's not good enough to create the impression you're doing everything you can. That's why full-time officials are valuable, because it helps create the impression they're doing everything they can. They're prioritizing. They're devoting resources to it. Hey, we know mistakes happen, but we're doing everything we can to avoid them. We're not just accepting between the two oligarchs, well, shit happens. It's too expensive to clean it up, so we'll just deal with the shit from time to time. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.